Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today, I will be ranking all 18 2-star gems and sharing my personal opinion on how I see them. So, this tier list isn't a fact, and only reflecting my personal opinion about each gem. You may have a completely different looking tier list, and that's fine. Anyhow, without any further ado, I will be diving into this tier list, starting with the Volatility Shard. Now, this gem isn't that good since it requires us to kill an enemy first before we get an explosion and some damage increase. We have much better gems options available now. So, I will put this into the B tier. Next, we have Kir Sling. I would rate this gem as B tier as well. The reason for that is because it does not work against bosses in PvE, and in PvP, players can reduce the effectiveness of this gem's blindness effect by having more resistance. So, the damage buff that we will get from this isn't going to be all that powerful, unless someone wants to run a full crowd control build. Next, we have plain Clasp, and hands down, this is one of the best 2-star gems currently available in the game, giving us damage versus enemies who are suffering from continuous damage, which can be fire, bleed, poison, or some skill that does something similar. So overall a very solid gem for all classes. So this gem goes into S tier. Next is IronBane. This gem helps enhance the damage of channeling skills and also dissolves enemy armor as we hit them with the channeling. The use of this gem is very limited and will only be useful in some builds. Unless that changes in the future, I will put this gem in the B tier list. Our next gem is Mother Lament. In my opinion, this gem used to be S tier, but after getting 2 additional slots for secondary gear, the need for this gem has gone down, in my opinion. The reason for that is because now we can easily have 4 pieces of Banquet of Eyes or Gloom Guide prize that can give us critical hit chance. So because of that, in my opinion, the value of this gem has gone down to A tier, from S, which is still honestly really strong. Anyhow, as for our next gem, it is none other than Fervent Fang. It is still a very strong gem and provides us with damage, which is good for both PvE and PvP. So as expected, this gem goes into the S tier list. Power and Command is next. This gem can cycle damage buffs between primary attack and skill damage, and during that cycle, it has some chance to remove any harmful effects from our character, which can be very useful in PvP. But it is important to note, for some classes, this gem will work better than others. For example, Demon Hunt can shoot and use skills better than any other class right now. For them, this could be an S tier, and for other classes, an A tier gem. So I will put this into A tier. Our next gem is Follower Burden. This gem is all about summons, and should only be used with full summon-based builds. It can increase the damage of our summons by a ton, and for summon-based builds, this is an S tier gem right now. The Hunger is next. This gem isn't something I can recommend to anyone, even if it can increase some of our attack speed and give us life, which is not needed at all in PvE. Mostly all content is easy when we have the recommended combat rating for it, so healing is not needed there, and inside of PvP, this gem is so heavily strifed that it is not worth using. So I will put this into the C tier list. Bloody Reach is next. This gem will work much better for ranged classes, like Wizard, Demon Hunter, and Necromancer. It can increase the damage that we do to enemies the more distance we have between us, so for ranged classes, this could be a solid A tier gem, and for melee classes, it will be much less effective. But this gem is pretty solid, and I will put it into the A tier list. Next gem is Battleguard. It can help us reduce damage from all sources if the enemy attacking us was within a 3-yard distance, which is very small, so this gem will work for only melee classes. But even after that, this gem is not needed for PvE content, and as for PvP again, this gem will be strifed so much that it's not worth using. So I will put this into C tier. Unity Crystal is next. This gem can help you reduce some damage for you and your teammate if your party member is within a 6-yard radius of you. While it might sound good on paper, in real gameplay, everyone is moving so fast left and right that staying close to one another is not possible most of the time. And inside PvP, the gem is strifed too much to be useful. I will put this gem into the C. Cutthroat's Grin is next, and recently, this gem got some attention for min-maxing our damage. It can increase our critical chance, and some damage if we hit the enemy from behind or the sides, which is basically a 180-degree radius from behind. For someone who can pull that off in real gameplay, it can do some serious damage, and so I will put this into the A tier list. As for the next gem, that is Lightning Core. This, for me, will go into the C tier. It's not all that good because we have to charge it first by using our primary attack, and we won't be using our primary in all our builds. For example, speed farm or maybe PvP, where someone might uses more skills than primary, so in my opinion, it's an okay gem. Anyhow, next is Abiding Curse. This gem does not work versus bosses in PvE but works pretty decently versus normal monsters and even in PvP, where it can curse the enemies, reduce their movement and attack speed, and make them take more damage from us. But the effects of this gem can be reduced if someone has more resistance in PvP, and because of that, I will put this gem into the B tier. Next we have Viper Bite. This gem is excellent for running damage over time-based builds. It has a 100% chance of triggering poison on the first hit to enemies, which pairs well with some set pieces like Banquet of Eyes and Grace of the Flagellant. Viper Bite can also help trigger other gems like Pain Clasp. Overall, it's an excellent gem and, for me, goes into the S tier. If you want to run some damage over time-based builds, this is the gem for you. Now for our second to last gem, it is Igneous Scorn. Our critical chance can cause explosions, which trigger every 6 seconds, and the gem will also increase some of our damage. The duration of that damage buff can also be increased by having more beneficial duration on my character. So, this is a solid A tier gem in my opinion, good for PvE and PvP. As for the last gem, it's a new addition to the game from the Battle Pass, and Boon of Plenty, Grim Rhythm. For someone seeking primary attack speed, this can be good for them. But it is important to note, we already have a lot of sources of getting attack speed for all classes now. So adding this gem might not be all that beneficial because it only gives a bit more attack speed and nothing else. But it's a good gem, and I will put this into B tier for now. And that would be all. Again, this tier list is just my personal opinion and not a fact. You guys can have a totally different looking tier list. In fact, you can let me know in the comments section down below which gems you would rate differently. But anyhow, you guys take care, and I will see you all in my next video.